Hello and welcome. This is Lights Out and away we go with the episode. We're the Formula 1 podcast for fans and by fans. I'm Will, and as I look across the digital garage, as always, I'm joined by my co-driver, or should I say my co-host Sam. Hello Sam, how are you?
Hello Will, I'm very well thank you. How are you? Did you have a nice weekend?
I did, thank you.
I did. I had a lovely weekend, thanks. Yeah, it was very good.
We should say for context, we were on a stag do together. Did you get a good night's sleep whilst after the stag do? Have you recovered?
I did. Yeah, my sleep on Sunday night was far better than my attempted sleep on Saturday.
Oh, why was that?
Well, unfortunately, I shared a room with my co-host on this podcast, and he's not a quiet sleeper, let's say. So I had to.
In my defence, I had drank a fair number of pints.
Yes.
So
yes. You drank a lot,
I mean,
and as we discussed the morning after, your sleeping position was kind of hilarious, and interesting in equal measure. I remember because I left the room, listener, for clarification. I decided against waking Will up with a cold glass of water. Thought,
how close were you to getting a glass of cold water?
Quite close. Then I thought better of it. Once I'd scouted out the lounge and decided that there was a space for me in the lounge to sleep on the floor that wouldn't be wouldn't kill my back. I thought, that's all right. I'll let him sleep, enjoy his rest, and I'll sleep in here, and it was fine.
I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and you weren't there. And my first thought was, have you fallen down the side of the bed and just fallen asleep down there? But you hadn't, and then I saw you were asleep in the sofa. I am sorry for your disrupted night's sleep. I mean, it's when you said you hit me 5 times with a pillow, and I slept through them all.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe that because I thought I'd been a light sleeper, but yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Sorry about that.
Fair play. You did very well to sleep through those pillow whacks. I was pretty, to be honest, by the last one, I was frustrated and impressed in equal measure. But my sleep last night was fantastic. I had a very early night.
Great.
It was brilliant. Just what I needed.
Great. I mean, we've learned something more about each other. We shouldn't share a room again after lots of lots of beers because you won't get any sleep.
No, but it was good. It was very nice to see you and a very enjoyable stag do.
Yeah.
If any of our fellow stags are listening, thanks for a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Great to celebrate the stag ahead of the wedding next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be going again. We're not sharing a room next weekend.
No, I've got my own room, and I'm going to have to consult whether I'm on the same floor as you, I think, and just have some mitigations in place.
My partner said that she will make sure I will not snore loudly, and she will. I think you've given her an idea with a glass of water. So if she's listening, she'll be deploying that on Saturday evening. Let's bring it back to Formula 1 then. We've got the Las Vegas Grand Prix this weekend, the first one of this new circuit, not the first ever Las Vegas Grand Prix. I found out as I was doing my research. Should we do a bit of killer stats and facts about it, and then should we talk about our enjoyment, looking forward towards it, and then we'll talk about some of the controversy as well. How does that sound as a plan? That sounds
like a fantastic plan. Let's do it.
Very good. So this is the first time the Las Vegas Grand Prix has been in Vegas since 1982. And now, Sam, I've got a quiz question for you here. How many drivers won a race in that 1982 season?
Oh, well, so it's either going to be sort of 2 like we've had this season or lots of different ones. I'll go lots of different ones because it was a bit wild back then. 7.
11 different drivers.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a season.
Yeah.
I don't think the race in Vegas was great, though. If I remember, I watched a few videos about it. Ages ago.
I thought you watched it. I watched it live. I thought I don't remember you being alive in 1982.
Could you imagine?
Didn't realise you were that old.
In my time machine, I went back and decided that was the one to watch. No, it was in a bit of a car park, wasn't it, around the casino or near it? Yeah,
yes, it was the Caesars Palace Grand Prix, and it was a very, very small circuit. I think it was only like a mile something long. So very small. I think there's seen an image of like comparison of the circuit size from 1982. And the one today, and it's mega difference. So I don't think it was a classic, and it was. I think they never held 2 there. So we're obviously going to a new circuit that they've designed around the streets of Las Vegas. It is the newest, probably the shiniest race that Formula 1 will hope to be on the calendar for decades to come and be a real calendar highlight. They spent £500 million on this Grand Prix. So what they did is they bought an old car park for $240 million, and they've developed a paddock and pits area and some area of permanent track as well. So they're planning to be there for a long time. And like I said, there's a 10-year deal. So they're really hoping it is a success. And they've built this sort of circuit that goes through a lot of the main streets. It's like we referred to in our last episode. It's the spider pig from the Simpsons movie, upside down, on the ceiling. It does look like a pig shape. The circuit is 3.8 miles. It runs counterclockwise. There are 17 corners, which may sound like there's a lot, but in quite twist and turny. But it's not really, isn't it? There's a few tight corners, but it's, there's a 1.18 miles straight that goes right past the famous hotels and casinos. And there are 2 other straights as well. So, a lot of the circuit will be high speed, flat out on the straights. And it starts in the former parking lot where they built their new paddock, which is meant to be very impressive. And we go past the new sphere. Have you seen this new sphere that they built in?
Yeah, I think I've only seen the when it's an eyeball and it looks very weird.
Oh yeah. Have you seen the inside of it?
No.
Oh, I'll find a clip and send it to you. It's a concert venue, and U2 have been doing a residency there, and they've actually had to pause it whilst Formula One are there because Formula One have hired it out for the race weekend. But inside, it's like a massive screen that fills basically the whole dome, and they've done some really cool footage of it, like like mountaintop. It looks really immersive and it looks very, very cool. If you've not seen it, definitely go and check out the inside version of the sphere. But yeah, there's been the eyeball on the outside, and Formula One have hired that as well, the outside of it. So there's going to be lots of probably Formula One themed stuff that's going on that sphere throughout the race. And I think it should look quite cool, really. But yeah, I mean, Vegas is fully embracing Formula One, having its own race there. We had a launch event last year, which I don't think we've ever seen before. Well, not in my time of following Formula One, a launch event for a race a year in advance. I've seen that apparently there's going to be a Shoey bar at the Bellagio Hotel. So that's where you can buy a racing boot and fill it with your favorite cocktail and drink from your cocktail shoe, just as Daniel Ricciardo does when he celebrates a win, which just sounds quite good fun. Yeah. I would be a sucker that would go and pay for that. There's also the F1 wedding chapel that's been created especially for it. And it's got the lovely phrase that they kind of snicked from our podcast: lights out and together we go.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, maybe I should change my intro spiel to that.
Yes, why not? Well, we've got a wedding coming up this weekend, so.
Yeah, true. Maybe we should just rock the mic and say that. I also saw apparently there's going to be an Alfa Romeo experience. And one of the things you can do there is you can get the signature Valtteri Bottas haircut.
Wow.
Now, is that the mullet or is that the Mercedes just short back and sides blonde bob?
It's got to be the mullet and the tash, isn't it?
Yeah. Would if you had that length of hair to have that haircut, would you go for it?
For a weekend, sure. Why not?
I feel like you could pull off the Valtteri Bottas look better than I could.
I mean, I thank you for your confidence. Yeah, maybe one day we'll give it a go. Why not?
Yeah, maybe instead of November we'll do Bottas over.
I like that. I like the idea of that a lot.
Nice. But yeah, that's just some sort of setting the scene for you, what to expect. I've raced on the circuit, on the Formula One game, I should put, and it's okay. There's lots of long straights. There's some quite tight corners. Obviously, it's quite cool with all the landmarks. The bit that'll be really cool is when they go down the main strip. I think that will look amazing. But yeah, it's very, very popular. Formula One made a big hype about it. Yeah, I'm not sure what I think about it. Are you excited for it?
Excited might be. Am I excited? So we're at a wedding, and it starts at 7:00 in the morning, and I am going to set an alarm.
6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it's 6. I thought it was 7.
Yeah, no, 6 o'clock. I checked this morning. Okay.
Well, that will be an early start then. And I am / was prepared to get up to watch it. So clearly I'm excited enough to see it. And I am quite interested to see how it goes. I mean, to some extent, a lot of that is driven by the conditions they're going to be racing in over the weekend, rather than the track itself or the location of the circuit. But yeah, I guess it's new, isn't it? It's kind of exciting that it's in Vegas. Yeah, I guess I'm quite interested to see sort of what it looks like and the glitz and glamour of it all, just the same as I was when Miami was announced and they introduced that race. So yeah, I am quite excited to see it, see the spectacle of it. And then the race, I actually think could well be quite interesting, obviously because of those conditions they're going to be racing in, which we'll talk about at some point during the podcast, I'm sure. So yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I'm quite looking forward to it. Have you seen anything from the drivers at all? I've not actually noted anything, but I just wondered if any of them had said they were particularly
No,
excited about it or anything like that.
I mean, yeah. So the Formula One have been doing a lot of promo for this since basically the start of the
Mm.
season, and a lot of the drivers have said they are really excited. And when they did their launch event last year, they had Verstappen, Albon, Hamilton, Russell all there promoting it, and they did something quite cool. Where they put lights underneath the car, and they had them lit up as they're going, like like neon lights. That was quite cool. And I've seen clips of them saying, "Oh, really excited to come to Vegas." Hamilton saying, "Oh, this is going to be the greatest ever." I think that's slightly him sort of just playing up to the crowd in front of him.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get a lot of coverage of their views on it Thursday into Friday, because Thursday they'll have all their press conferences, and that'll be the main topic of conversation. And then Friday, I'm really, really intrigued to see what the drivers are saying after Friday practice, because it's a brand new circuit, and we've seen before that some of the drivers react quite negatively to street circuits that haven't been well. If the surface isn't good. Was it at Miami last year when we first time we raced there? And Hamilton said it was like racing in a B&Q car park. Like it will be interesting to see what the drivers make of it as well. And that's right to point out about the conditions. It's going to be 5 degrees.
They reckon it's going to be between 5 and 10 on race day.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's taking place at night time.
Yes, race starts at 10 o'clock in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it's not in it's not, you'd expect it to be like America really hot at that time of year, but it's not. It's going to be like winter coat weather apparently. So yeah, 5 degrees to 10 degrees.
Yeah, and that will be really interesting because the cars just aren't designed for that at all. Like 95% of the circuits on the calendar, as we've talked about so many times, take place in very, very hot countries at warm / summer time of the year. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they do that. I think the coldest race ever recorded in Formula One was 5 degrees, and that was in Canada in like the 80s sometime. So yeah, this will be one of the coldest races ever, probably. And certainly with sort of modern Formula One cars, it's going to be fascinating to see how they cope, how the drivers cope, what it means for all the tyres and everything else. So yeah, that of itself is going to be very interesting, I think. And yeah, Friday practice will be a big marker, I think, for everybody in the weekend, just to really set down what it's going to look like on the Sunday and over the course of the weekend, which will be exciting. I'm going to try and tune in, I think, and watch as much of it as I can.
I'll see how the wedding goes and how bereft I am by the end of Saturday night and how tired I am. Because I'll be dancing all night long. I should say that that's probably one of the things I'm most intrigued about this race. And probably it feels weird to say excited, because there's a version of this race where it is an absolute calamity. There's cars spinning off. There's loads of crashes. It's a street circuit, so the barriers are really close. We have loads of safety cars, loads of red flags, and we have quite a weird race or a weird race result and a real spectacle for all the wrong reasons. Basically, that kind of intrigues me. Seeing, are we going to like that? My concern is that we won't get that, and we'll get the complete opposite, and everyone will take it quite easy just to manage the car and to manage the heat. We won't see many errors and mistakes and crashes, and it becomes a bit of a bore fest because people just don't want to being overly cautious. And we've seen that before when the conditions or the circuit demands it. How often do you see it Monaco or Singapore, whereby they manage it on the street circuits, they manage the pace, to manage the car degradation, the tire degradation. I'm just concerned it could either be a real spectacle and a real calamity, or it could be a real snorefest, and it might send you back to sleep.
Well, but that of itself is quite interesting, right? Like there are so many races throughout the course of the year. I mean, I know we've taken the piss a bit this season because Red Bull and Max have dominated the whole time, but there are definitely races where you go into race weekend knowing it's not probably going to be that exciting, and then there are others where you think, oh, it's going to be good because it's always good. Like Silverstone, for example, it's just a banging race every year.
Yeah.
And this one, because it's new, we just don't know. Like we have no, there's no context or previous history there for us to go on. So that of itself is quite interesting. I'm hoping for a balance between the two. I'm not one of those fans that just loves to watch like 10 cars basically go off and then only 10 finish, and we get like 4 safety cars, 2 red flags, and the whole thing lasts like 4 hours. I'm not really one of those people. So a bit of kind of carnage here and there could be quite good, and anything that helps mix up the order a bit generally usually results in quite entertaining racing as well, but nothing sort of Spa, was it 96, 97, 98, maybe one of those where you lost like 6-7 cars on the first lap because of the conditions and stuff. Like we don't want to see that.
That's the famous clip where there's like car pieces flying everywhere, right, on the starting straight or one of the straights.
Well, that was a real turning point for the sport. Actually, in the end, they didn't want to repeat that at all. So yeah, no, it's going to be really interesting. I'm quite interested to see see how it all pans out. Have you got any? I know we're going to do predictions in the second half, but have you got any hope for a team other than Red Bull given the conditions?
Yeah, well, I'd like to think that the master, his goatedness, Lewis could work some surprises just because he's so experienced. And he's good in any condition. But then, like I said, this circuit requires a lot of high speed, and that Mercedes is not quick in a straight line. So I'm not holding my breath on that. Maybe this could be the moment for Charles. Maybe this could be his weekend to just rock up and be the real star and just cause a surprise. Like he's been very quick in one lap. And if it's difficult conditions and he can get that Ferrari perform well, I would like to see him win if it's not a Lewis win. I think for how his season has gone, and like we talked about his bad luck last time out, I'd quite like to see that. What about you? Have you got sort of any other general predictions? Are you hoping for Williams to get their first win?
I don't think Williams will get a win, but they're definitely in with a shout of some points. I think, given the low drag nature of the car concept they have, and the fact, as you've just said, those two massive straights, one in particular. So I fancy them to potentially pick up a point or two. I think Ferrari will probably be quite good. They generally are on this kind of circuit, and they are also quite good in cooler conditions because they can run their engines pretty hot. And they don't chew up the tyres as much, which has been a real issue for them all season. So, yeah, I've got hopes for Ferrari. And Lando, I think Lando and Charles could be in the mix for a potential win if hopefully conditions allow for close racing and stuff, and Max doesn't run off into the distance as per usual. But yeah, I think it could be good. Could be good. Fingers crossed.
I suppose the conditions really do throw up a great unknown because we don't know how any of the teams, let alone Red Bull, will cope in this colder climate. And, it really could bunch the pack, or it could just confirm what we know already. That is a very interesting thing that could come out of the race.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one kind of worst case scenario is that they don't end up racing on Sunday because it's too cold. And I don't know what the conditions have to be like for that decision to be made, because I don't know if there are any regulations around it, because we've never had it, for God knows how long. I know they have it for rain and things, but visibility and whatnot. But if the track surface is, I don't know, frosty, let's say, can Formula One cars race in those conditions? I don't know.
Well, we had the pre-season testing in Barcelona. Was it 2010 or 11? Where they literally started getting like frosty, and then it literally was snow, and they couldn't do any running at all because the conditions were so cold. Yeah. So yeah, we're not. Snow is not forecast. We should be clear about that. But I'd love to be a fly on the wall in Pirelli's offices right now, because they've never tested these tires at such cold conditions. And it's, I think I saw, I don't know how true this is because it's Twitter, and you don't know what people are posting on Twitter, but I think someone said that someone at F1 said they were surprised, or they didn't realize how cold it was going to be when they planned this race to be in November, which seems incredibly stupid. And it seems too stupid to be true that they couldn't look at like the weather forecast throughout the year and think about, if we have the race at 10 o'clock at night, what does that mean? Oh, it's going to be 5 degrees. Right. We can't have that there. Like, that would be a monumental cock up if they've not thought about that until, literally a month or so ago. But yeah, I am a bit concerned about the Pirellis and see how they're going to do, because, yeah, surely there's a safety point of view. Or do you think we might see mandated, instead of a safety car, I think we'll see mandated red flags, because being under safety car is just too dangerous because the tyre will lose so much heat in those conditions.
Yeah, maybe. But then I mean, they've also got the regulations in place around tyre blankets now, haven't they, as well? So it's not even like a red flag situation really helps. I remember when was the red flag recently, where Charles Leclerc was on the radio saying this could be quite tricky into first corner now. Was that last race? The race before? I can't remember.
Mexico, was
it
Mexico?
Yeah. That's right. It was Mexico. So this is altitude, right? And I think because it was quite cool, and all the teams were really struggling on tyre warm up. When the red flag was thrown there, they were all quite worried going into turn one. I think this could be another example of that. So you say, booking in Vegas in November is really stupid, but I'm just reminding myself of the schedule at the start of the season, where they went from Saudi Arabia to Australia to Azerbaijan to Miami, back to Europe for Monaco, Spain, then back to North America for Canada, then back to Europe for Austria. And then they stayed in Europe for a bit, then went to Singapore, Japan, Qatar, like it. There's a massive chunk of the calendar that doesn't really make much sense at all as it stands at the moment. I think they're looking to obviously make some changes, and like Japan's being moved to much earlier in the year and things like that. But
well,
yeah.
You say that, I've just checked the 2024 provisional
Mm-hmm.
calendar, and Vegas is the same time of year next year.
Well, yeah, this is it because they booked it in as the penultimate race, haven't they?
Well, no, it's actually Qatar's the penultimate race next
Oh,
year.
before Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, next year.
Okay, so is it
Yeah,
third last then next year, Vegas?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. After
there
Brazil,
must be a kind of needs to be near the end of the season to make it exciting kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah. But then that's the thing, right? This is the thing I'm concerned about. If the circuit is terrible, right, and it's not an interesting layout, and it's a street circuit, it's too tight, it's not many overtakes, are we now going to be lumbered for 10 years with another really crap circuit that we have to go to, and it's really anticlimactic? We've already got Qatar. That was a shocker of a circuit. Miami, that's a new circuit that's not gone down very well. Imola, that's been on this. That's a recent addition on the circuit. That's not been very good. Onto the calendar. That's not been very good. I mean, the only one I can think of that has been a consistently good one recently is probably Saudi Arabia. But even then, the jury is still. That's not been great every year we've been there for the 3 times we've been to Saudi
No,
Arabia.
and it was incredibly dangerous, wasn't it? At the start. Hard to say on that one, isn't it? Because I do remember when Baku was added that first year, there was a lot of chat about the fact that it was going to be a rubbish race. And it's actually turned out some very, very entertaining ones over the years as well. And they've sort of refined it and stuff over the years. Now, they've signed a 10-year deal. There's massive money involved, which we will talk about in the second half because that's a real issue. It's hard to imagine that if the first couple churn out pretty boring races, they won't make changes. I think they probably would. They'd find a way to alter the track in some form or another to try and improve racing. And the track isn't the entirety of the equation around why racing sometimes isn't good. There are others as well, things like the cars. So it looks like the whole of the sport is moving towards or moving in the direction of for closer racing and more entertainment and stuff, which is good. And the tracks are a massive factor in that. And just because of the money involved in the Vegas one, I'd be really surprised if they didn't make changes and stuff if it turned out to be a bit boring. But who knows? Maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll be brilliant. We'll see at 6:00 in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, for Formula One, it's great that they've cracked America, that they can have. This is the third race we have in America this season. You think where Formula One was 10 years ago. Was Austin even on the calendar 10 years ago?
No, they had. Where did they race? They had one they had Indianapolis for a while.
Yeah, and then that went off the calendar for quite a while.
So I don't know if they've cracked America yet. I think there's always a load of excitement at the first race, a new race. Like Miami, there was loads of excitement for because it was the first one. This year's come around, and I remember an awful lot of empty seats over qualifying and race day.
That's true.
I don't think Vegas will be like that. Certainly not this time. But like the acid test will be availability of tickets and stuff for Vegas sort of a month out next year and the year after that. I think COTA's generally well attended every year because they've got a really passionate fan base that love motor racing in that bit of America, and they will turn up for that Grand Prix every race every year. And because the circuit is so good, you just get good racing. It's good value for money. Whereas with Miami, the race wasn't brilliant on either occasion really so far. They're going to struggle probably next year, I think, to sell some tickets based on a number of factors, including the dominance of one team this season and things like that. I don't necessarily believe they've cracked America in the same way that like it doesn't really matter how bad the weather is. You can guarantee Silverstone, Spa, Monza, and a few others at Japan, that place like that, they will be packed out every day, all weekend. The demand for tickets will be unbelievable, and they're just a guaranteed sellout. I don't think we're quite there yet with America. Certainly not those other two races that have been added the last couple of years. But there's nothing to say they can't get there.
I'd say, I don't know, because I think people say that Drive to Survive had a massive difference in cracking America. And it's probably much more popularity. I think they've probably sold a lot more tickets now at COTA than they do a while ago. But you're right, Miami. Miami was crazy because like last year it was the race to go to in America.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to people when I went to Barcelona saying it was cheaper for them to come to Barcelona than it was to go to Miami. And then, like you say, this year they were trying to flog them off, weren't they? Because they couldn't get them away.
Yep.
And I think they've probably lost a lot of that clientele that have now gone, would rather go to Vegas and pay silly money at Vegas to to see a race. But yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what ticket sales are like going forward. Because we'll come on to that in the second half. Some of the criticisms is that they've not made it an affordable or cheap race to go to, which is kind of funny because Vegas is the Sin City, all the casinos and gambling, and they make it so easy to stay there, so cheap to stay there, and they just price everyone else out. Yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting. No matter what, I think there'll be plenty to talk about, not only in the race itself, but how it has gone as an event. I've not seen any speculation yet of who was going to be there, but I imagine there's going to be so many celebs, and I think we could get a grid walk of the ages from Martin Brundle. I really hope he is doing the grid walk because I think
he must be.
It must. We've seen it before where they've been incredibly stacked. I think it'll be to another level in Vegas. If people want to go to Vegas at 10 a.m. at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night to watch the race there.
No, I think the grid walk will be fantastic, definitely. But yeah, you'll have to get up extra early to watch that one. That'll be it.
Will Tom Cruise be there? Because he always turns up at the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, I expect he probably will be. And yeah, him and Lewis have quite a good working relationship, don't they? And stuff.
He's always a guest of honor within the Mercedes team.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's some proper A-listers there.
Yeah. Here's a bit different kind of prediction. Who'll be the biggest name celebrity there, do you reckon?
Maybe LeBron? I'll go LeBron James. Okay. Why not?
I'm going to go... I was going to go with Messi, but he's probably on international duty, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, he will be. Yeah, he will be, yeah.
So maybe not Messi. I'm going to go big. I reckon Obama's going to be there.
Wow. Obama in Vegas for a Formula One race. Yeah. That would be crackers. I'd love to see
calling
that.
it. I'm calling it now.
Okay. It's funny you said a former president because my first thought was Trump.
Yeah, I did almost think Biden, but I think he's probably too old to be out there in Vegas.
Can't be up that late.
No. And Trump's got a court case, so
yeah,
he won't
that's
be
true.
there.
Yeah, he'll be like handcuffed to one of the stands. Oh dear.
Yeah, I don't think there is a Trump hotel in Vegas, but you could be watching it from there. I mean, it would be a fascinating time to be in Vegas right now as just a normal punter or even just a resident to see how the city's probably being taken over by it, which feels quite something for something. Have you ever been to Vegas?
No, never. No.
I've been once as a 15, 14-year-old, and basically as you land into the airport, the strip is basically that it dominates it, and then around it there's a few other buildings, but the strip is the hub of it. So must be quite a surreal sort of time to be a resident there, to have your whole city taken over.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we should talk about that in the second half because there's lots to cover there.
Well, why don't we do that? Let's take a very quick break and then discuss some of the criticisms of the race.
Let's do it.
Welcome back from the break. Hope you had a jolly old time. Now, before we go into some of the criticisms that we've seen and some of the controversy around the race, I should say that we might see some cool liveries and helmet designs coming up this weekend. We've already seen Ferrari have paid tribute to their F200, basically the mid-noughties car, by putting some white on it, and the rear wing and the front. Is it the front as well?
Yeah, looks good.
It looks really, really good, and the overalls as well. It's got a nice red and white. I think it's probably one of the best one-off liveries this season. And dare I say it, make it better than the black?
Which black? The Mercedes?
No. Of the normal Ferrari.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
the bits that they turned white is the bits that turned white is better than the black version, the normal version of the car.
Maybe. I need to see it again. I need to see it in race light. I think it does look good on Twitter. But
yeah, and it's all video game shots of it so far.
Yeah,
so
it does look fantastic. I think the Ferraris generally looked really good last year and this year. So yeah, I'm liking that livery a lot.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what sort of helmet designs we get. I'm sure we'll get some poker, casino, gambling ones. I wonder if we'll get a hangover themed one. trying to think what else we might get. So maybe like a sphere one to tie up with the sphere because the head is similar sort of shape. I don't know how that would work, but Yeah, I'm sure we'll see loads. I'm sure there'll be loads. I always enjoy that when people make a real effort for, especially because it's a night race as well. You'll see some cool night ones as
Mm.
well. We alluded to it in the first half. Ticket prices.
Mm.
What have you seen on the ticket prices for the race?
Well, they were extortionately expensive to start with. They've remained extortionately expensive, and now we are 1 week away from the race, and they obviously haven't sold them all, as far as I can tell, because the prices have come down quite a bit. I sent you a tweet about it, didn't I, recently? But I can't remember exactly how much they've come down
Yes.
by. Have you got it to hand?
Well, this is we are one mind. So the cheapest tickets on the 10th of August for the Friday was $825. Saturday, $1,645. That's for one day. Crazy money. For then this was as of the 8th of November, so 2 months later. It 8th of November. It was 312 for the Friday, so gone down by 62%, and Saturday was $1,087, so gone down by 34%.
Wow.
I'm assuming the Sunday deals are all gone because they're not included in this thing, but yeah, they're obviously trying to fill every remaining seat, and also the hotel prices have dropped as well.
Yeah.
They're massively spiked, and they're now come down by like 58% as of the 8th of November. So yeah, not good really if you're struggling to sell your all your seats, and they obviously want it to look full, don't they?
Of course, yeah. I think that's got to be the purpose. Yeah, I do think the kind of prices were set too high. I've made my peace with the kind of how Formula One is ticketed, and that there are some races that cost very little, like Hungary, and then in comparison very little, and then others that cost more because they're a bit more exclusive in nature. You know, that's kind of fine, but in this case, they clearly placed the bar a bit too high, and it does mean that there are an awful lot of fans who either couldn't afford race tickets or just won't spend the money to go and watch free practice for $600 or whatever it was on Friday. So, yeah, kind of interesting that the prices are coming down. I'm really intrigued to see, particularly on the Saturday. I mean, I'm not super bothered about Friday practice and stuff, but like if you don't get lots of people turn up for qualifying, then it's generally not a particularly good look for the weekend, the race weekend. Because a lot of people will tune in, particularly on TV for qualifying. So, particularly this year, because qualifying is later in the morning than the race. So yeah, I don't know if you want to call it an error with ticket pricing, but it does seem too much. And also, if you're kind of living locally and you're having to put up with all of the stress of the Formula One circus coming to town, there should be tickets available for those people to come and watch races if they want to. And yeah, they've basically priced pretty much the entire city out of being able to do that. So yeah, I don't think that was particularly great personally.
It seems like a massive own goal because that's an easy way of just shifting tickets, just people that are obviously eager to see it in their own hometown. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know what the population is of Vegas, but I'm sure they could have easily done that if they just made it affordable. And then also it's a good story, say, you know, look, we've been able to offer Vegas residents cheaper access. I mean, you talk about what it's like living there at the moment. I've just seen this tweet off the back of that one I was talking about. This guy was saying he was in Vegas last week and said it was an absolute hot mess. Half of the streets are blocked and it's impossible to get anywhere.
Yeah.
The employees literally don't know if they can get to work, and several of the hotels are blocked in, so the employees' patrons won't be able to leave. There's an additional 20% tax for taxis starting next week on this race week, and some of the buildings haven't been finished yet in time for the race.
It's pretty poor, isn't it? Really. You'd be really annoyed if you live there and just work there, having like a whatever job, whatever you consider to be a normal job, but a non-Formula One related job, and you can't get anywhere because all the roads have either been shut for ages because they've had to be resurfaced so Formula One cars can go down them, or they've closed off loads of the city already. And I do think as well, like there's something a bit gross about putting up loads of stuff to stop people watching the race from the hotels and things, like and from like residential blocks and stuff. Like if you live there and you have to put up with the inconvenience of a Formula One circus for, you know, what is quite a significant chunk of time now to get them race ready, the least the sport can do is allow them to look out the window and see a Formula One car go past.
Well, they've got bridges that go over some parts of this thing, and they put privacy films on it, and loads of the Vegas residents have been really angry about it, so they've been scratching it off. To which the organisers put it on the other side of the bridge that they can't get to, so they've blocked it. And I saw a quote from a spokesperson saying, "Oh, these bridges are in use, and they don't want people to be slowing down, looking over them." But it's like, why? Just like live a little. Like, these people can look out of a bridge for a little bit. If you police it a little bit, you don't need to block it up. And apparently they've might put stuff over the top of these bridges to stop people throwing stuff onto the circuit, which I don't think anyone's expecting. But yeah, it's not great really. And I saw as well that they've kind of like, was it chopped down loads of the trees? Yeah. They've emptied out the outdoor Venetian water bit in one of the hotels. The Venetian hotel. That's it. They've got rid of all that and covered that with scaffolding and TV, for TV stands and grandstand as well.
And they've covered lots of the landmarks as well, haven't they? Like the fountain and stuff in front of the Bellagio and things like that. Oh,
yeah. The Bellagios have been covered up, but then some of them are still there. So they've obviously wanted to get some certain iconic features in, and to do that, they've had to make sacrifices for other bits of it as well. And like I said, it's a strip, so it's not going to be massive. And it is a massive. It's just, it's not like it's a separate race complex as well. Yeah, it doesn't sound particularly great. Being a resident there, if you can't afford, your city is now impossible to travel through. They've wrecked a lot of stuff, and then they've kind of priced you out of being able to get.
Yeah, I think we're a Formula One representative to appear on the podcast. They'd probably say, we've priced it at the point that we thought it would be most prudent to price it, given what we know from previous races like Miami, etc. And this is the first time we've won the race, and there's the first time we've run the race, and there'll be lots of teething problems that will iron out over the next couple of years. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like there are definitely some own goals there, and yeah, if I was a resident of Vegas, I would be pretty annoyed, especially if I wasn't a Formula One fan, of which I suspect many aren't.
Yeah, and we've talked about this year about how the viewing figures for races have been going down. I've seen people say that they expect the viewing figures across America to be quite low because the race is so late on Eastern Coast time. It's 1 a.m. in the morning over in the East Coast, so not many people are going to stay up. They don't think many people stay up late to watch that, especially at this end of the season where there's nothing really to play for. And then, it's 10 p.m. in Vegas and 6 a.m. here, probably be 7 a.m. in the rest of Europe. It's not an ideal time to have a race, but they've obviously had to do it at the night time because I think it would have been awful if it had been a midday race down Vegas. Can you imagine how rubbish that would have been?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do wonder if they missed a trick a little bit in that it didn't have to be a day race, but I also don't think it had to be a night race. I think they could have had it at like early evening, like run the race at like 5 p.m. sunset. Like we've seen, that video that's been doing the rounds. Yeah, so Abu Dhabi's a good example. And the video doing the rounds of Leclerc driving his Ferrari around Mugello in the sunset time. It looks freaking awesome, right? It just looks so nice. So I do wonder, and that would have been fine for particularly the East Coast. Like they'd have been able to watch it in their evening. It would have been more difficult, I guess, for us, but not super difficult. It would have been kind of 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 p.m. kind of thing. Like I feel like people would be more willing to stay up late for a Formula One race than they are to get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning to watch it. Japan aside, which of course many of us will continue to do that because it's fantastic, and same goes for Australia. But yeah, I don't know. Did it have to be 10 p.m. Vegas time? I don't think so. They've picked 10 p.m. Vegas time because they think that's kind of prime Vegas time, right? And they're going to get the most interesting visual with all the lights and stuff lighting up the strip and stuff. But I don't know. I think there might have been a middle ground they could have opted for, and maybe we'll see that change over the next few years. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. But then if it starts earlier, then it means even earlier for us in Europe. If they do it, I don't know. I feel like money talks. We never see a race go on in the middle of the night for us here, whereas probably all around the world it happens. My brother's in Australia. I think he's missed quite a few races because they don't cater to the European television market. So yeah, I think that might be one to watch. But it doesn't seem like it's been a very well thought out one where so many Europeans will have to be up really early, so many Americans will be asleep, and then it's so late in Vegas as well.
I just think like, and I'm not saying they should just totally take the mickey out of a European audience, but the European Formula One audience is pretty committed and has been proven that for a very long time now. I mean, geez, they turn up to Spa every year in the pouring rain, and they get up, as is the case with us, get up at God knows whatever time to watch races in Australia and Japan and things if our alarms go off. I had to got that in there. Did you enjoy that? So I don't know. I don't think they should necessarily worry about us having to stay up till 11 p.m. or midnight to watch a race. I actually think most European fans would probably be happier to stay up to watch a race at 11:30 midnight than they are getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning to watch it in the morning on the Sunday.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I mean, if we were at this wedding, I'd much rather stay up at the end of the wedding and watch it very boozed for a couple of hours rather than get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. If I even make up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I might be too busy snoring away, and my alarm might not wake me.
Well, we shall see. Yeah, I did. The thought crossed my mind anyway. I don't think it's a totally impossible time zone for them to be able to cater for both the American and the European audiences properly. But there we are.
Yeah, I suppose as well. This Grand Prix has come around quite quickly from when it was announced to building it all, and like I said, they built their own complex basically on an old parking lot. It was never going to go completely smoothly, right? It was always going to be a bit of a challenge, and there's always going to be hiccups. And it's apart from I think the thing that annoys me the most about it is it's really bad that they've priced people out of it and now struggling to shift the tickets and the privacy films. I think that's just poor. But some of the other stuff is probably just the city coming to a halt. That's just unavoidable if you want to host an event that takes over the city, right?
I think that and there'll be teething problems because it's the first one they've had. There's been a lot of chat about how they do it in Monaco, but the thing is, it only happens in Monaco over that 4-day period once a year. It's also happened there a lot, down the years, so they're sort of used to it now. And the population is smaller, and it's not like the entirety of all the main roads and stuff get shut down. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll get better over the next couple of years, and there'll be less inconvenience for local people and stuff. That would be good. I mean, they're going to have to, right? They can't run it like this every year for the next 10 years because they've got a 10-year deal. So, I've no doubt over the next few years, the kind of logistical delivery of the race and things, or the race weekend will get better. But I'm very intrigued to see whether or not the spectacle, I guess, meets the expectation that's been built now.
Well, that's it. And like we said in the first half, a lot of it is on the tyres and the tyre temperatures. That is going to be one of the deciding factors of whether it's a good race or not.
Yeah.
That'll be the one to watch. Shall we move on to the predictions then for our? This is finger in the air stuff. This is. I mean, not that it's not been before, but we were talking to someone on the stag at the weekend who listens to the pod, and they were saying we'd done a very good job with our predictions and how close it had been. I was like, I feel like we've done very well, but this could really blow things apart because what was if 10 cars go and one of our predictions is in those 10 cars that get crashes out? We could be, was it a 19-point gap I've got over you at the moment? That could easily swing if there's a bit of carnage with a couple of drivers.
It could indeed. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I'm hoping you get some of the quicker drivers and they have some issues. That would be good. All right, should we do it then?
Let's go.
Las Vegas Grand Prix predictions. Number randomizer is ready.
Here we go.
Lights out. Away we go with the predictions.
And together we go.
All right, first up, you've got number 13, Alex Albon.
I'm going to go big. I think he's going to finish 6th.
Oh, that is bold. Okay. I feel like mid-table teams are going to be tough in this one because there's every chance there's an incident at the start.
Yeah. But I think it'll be in the right place at the right time.
All right. Okay. Next up, you've got number 15, Valtteri Bottas.
I reckon he'll finish 14th.
Okay.
They've been quite unreliable recently, haven't they? The Alphas.
They have. They made some improvements in it. They have both cars in the points 2 races ago, and then they sort of reverted a little bit in Qatar. But never know. And then your last one, Oh my goodness, number 14. So you got 13, 14, and 15. Number 14 is Yuki Tsunoda. That's a tough roster.
Is this number generator rigged?
Maybe.
I think I'll go for 12.
Okay.
I saw earlier that the AlphaTauri now has the same rear suspension as the Red Bull,
and shockingly, the car is now much more competitive.
Much better. Yeah, and we'll apparently it's only going to get better. That's what's going to happen next year as well. They're going to be even closer to those two cars.
We've discussed previously about whether or not we think that should be allowed. Here we are.
Yep. Just come through for me, Yuki.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, you've got a tough roster there. I've got some hope here. Right. My first number is number 6. Carlos Sainz. Generally pretty predictable, reliable, I should say. Ferrari's quite good. I'm gonna go 4th, Carlos Sainz.
You really deliberate. I could just see you there, sat there. Really,
this is an important week for me because if I bin this week, it's kind of game over with the last race. Whereas I need to stay in it and make it interesting for the last week. So
you need to close the gap significantly this week to set up a tight finale.
Number 6, Nico Hülkenberg. Number 16, sorry, Nico Hülkenberg.
That's a tough one.
I'm not expecting much from Haas.
No.
So, but cooler conditions might help them. But I have said that on at least 3 previous occasions this year, and they didn't score a point in any of them, I don't think. I'll go 15th for Hülkenberg.
Okay.
And then the last one. Oh, number 12, Esteban Ocon. Wow, we've both got tricky rosters there. Right, cooler conditions.
That's really tough.
But that Renault's power is not brilliant. I'm going to go.
And it is Esteban Ocon, the man that he loves.
So he loves a penalty, and I feel like he's involved in incidents quite a lot. I can see
understatement of the season.
I can see Ockenberg being created. I can see Ocon and Hülkenberg coming together, and this is just totally ruining my.
Maybe he might be called Roman Ocon going forward in tribute to his countryman Roman Grosjean.
I'm gonna go 12th for Ocon.
Cool.
Okay, that's a tough. I mean, I think unless something terrible happens to Alex Albon, or in my case something goes terrible for Sainz, I don't think we're going to see a massive points difference based on those. But you never know.
Then if all the top 10 all crash out, we might see something crazy going on.
Maybe some kind of pile up.
Oh, I really hope there is a pile up of some sorts. I think it would be so crazy. And you sort of said you'd like to see a Charles or a Lando win. Who do you think will win? and is that a stupid question?
I don't know if it's so. If it was hot, I think it would be a stupid question. But because the conditions are what they're going to be, I don't think there's anything to say another driver couldn't win the race. We saw Singapore was pretty cool, and Red Bull really struggled on their tyres that weekend. This is going to be even cooler. There's nothing to say Max won't really struggle again. It's always a bit of a lottery on setup for a new race. Some teams might get it right, some teams might not. I've got a feeling about Charles and maybe Lando. I think they're the two for me. Like if any drivers are going to beat Max, one of those two, maybe Lewis. But the problem is with that, it's just so draggy, that car, and the straight's so long.
Yeah.
Like even if Lewis somehow managed to get it into first, he's not holding anyone off with DRS.
No,
it's just not going to happen.
No.
He's good. He's not that good. Like he's not a magician.
So you think the favorite is Max, but the best challenges of the rest could come from Charles?
It's going to be a Ferrari or a McLaren. I mean, Aston Martin look like they've sort of made some improvements, but I don't fancy them for sort of podium challenging, let's say. And the two best drivers for my money at the moment are Sainz and Norris from those following teams.
Not Leclerc.
Leclerc and Norris.
Yeah.
No, I think Sainz will have a good Grand Prix, but Leclerc looks like he's got his mojo back.
I mean, it would be quite something if we had a real surprise. And when I say a real surprise, I'm not saying Kevin Magnussen winning. I mean, like what happens if Piastri or Alonso won their first, their races this season? I think that'd be very cool and very, I'd like to see something like that, but I don't know. I think Max is the favourite just because he's in such fine form. Maybe Checo might surprise us all and win it. He loves the street circuit.
I genuinely think there's more chance of Lando or Charles winning it than Perez.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just shows you we've not even really mentioned him at all until the end of the podcast. So, I doubt he'll be in the conversation.
No, probably not.
He'll be too busy bumping into people and blaming them. And then going into the pits, hoping that Red Bull can fix his car. They don't, and then he retires.
I assume you think the same, do you? Max is still probably...
Yeah, I'd say Max is the favourite, and then I probably agree with you. I'd like to see Charles win, but I think him and Lando are probably the two closest to being able to cause an upset.
It'd be quite cool if Lando's first race win was in Vegas, though.
Yeah, that would be really cool, and nice for him as well to for the season he's having to have won his first race at a brand new circuit at the end of a season where he's absolutely stormed it. I think that would be that'd be really nice. Maybe Max will let him win.
I mean, it's his birthday today, Lando. Happy 24th birthday, Lando, if you're listening.
Well, happy birthday. Hope he's having a great day. So I think we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. I think that brings us to the end of the podcast. Thanks very much for joining us. Remember to subscribe and leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. If you did enjoy it, why don't you share it with a friend? Hopefully they enjoy it more than many of the residents of Las Vegas have enjoyed the Formula One circus coming to town the last few months. It is worth having a look on Twitter and Instagram at some of the residents' feelings about it. There are some quite funny posts, actually. It's worth it. Gallows humour, among many. Follow us on Twitter at LightsOutLads, and on Instagram we are at the Lights Out Pod.
Yes, we are. That's all from us. All the best, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.